So today I've got another archer's feedback video that was sent in by an archer called Sadiq, and they asked me to have a look at them shooting and give them some tips as to how they can improve. So that's what I'm going to do today. So first of all, before we get started, I want you to let me know after you watch the videos, I want you to let me know which main areas you would focus on and why you think these areas are important in the comments below. So let me know for that. Now let's take a look at the 3 clips that Sadiq sent over, and then we'll go through some of the good points that I really like, and then some of the points that he could really improve on as well. So for the good points, the first thing I should mention is Sadiq has only been shooting for about 6 months, I think he said. So as you can see from the videos, the technique is really good, and he's also got like a really good setup of his shot cycle already in quite a short amount of time, so that's really great. Now if we look, first of all, if we look from the 3 o'clock angle, straight on, showing the archer, what I really like in this angle is that you can see there's a deliberate stage of each shot in that he's really thinking about, okay, this part of the shot I'm doing my set position, now I'm getting ready with the hook and the grip, then when I'm coming up, now I'm trying to do the elbow rotation, then I'm coming into my setup and getting to anchor and full draw, and then the expansion. So I like that you can really see in just a short amount of time, in 6 months, that he's developed a good shot cycle already and really understands some of those key points. Now if we move on from that angle to the 6 o'clock angle from behind, you can see that the posture, the back is nice and flat once Sadiq gets to full draw, and that's really good. And importantly as well, what you can see is on release, even though there's some release stuff I would work on, and I'll talk about that later, even though there's some of that on release, when Sadiq releases here, there's not a lot of body movement, there's not a lot of body sway along the shooting line. The body is pretty still, which is a really important and key feature that every single top archer has. So that's really great to see, especially at such an early stage in Sadiq's archery career. So that's really good to see that stability along the shooting line, not so much jerky movement, and there's this really good solid base there. And there are some things as well that I want to address that can improve that even more. But I was really happy to see that. I was really happy to see the back not arched overly like that, and that's really good as well. Now if we also look at this angle and look at the elbow when Sadiq is coming in, the elbow line here is really quite good as well, considering the amount of time he's been shooting. The elbow is really close to the line of the arrow. It could be a little bit better in the long term, but really good starting point, and that's really going to help as well. So there's some really great points there. Now moving on to the other angle, the 9 o'clock angle from the back, you can see that generally, again, the posture is decent. There are some small areas to work on in terms of a slight leaning back and some movement with the head and stuff, but the general posture is really good, and you can see the build up of the shot and the stability there, so that's what I really like. Also, you can see that when Sadiq is coming to anchor, he's reaching this place where he can then move into expansion in a nice way, and he's getting to somewhere solid and then having a deliberate place where he can then expand, rather than just kind of coming up and just shooting straight away and not having this step process, which is quite common with people who haven't shot that much, for if they've only been shooting 3-6 months or something like that. So that's really great to see. So those are some of the really good points, and now I want to go over what you could do to improve in this scenario and what I would work on first. So the number one thing for me here would be working a bit more on the posture and the head position. And although it's pretty good, as I already said, so there's no arching in the back, the posture's good, especially on release, there are some improvements. So if you see in this 3 o'clock video here again, if you see from the front, you can see that when Sadiq is lifting the bow here, the head position is moving. So it starts okay, then it drops slightly as the bow is lifting, and then when Sadiq is drawing, it kind of comes up a bit to allow some space to draw the bow. So we want to eliminate this head movement and have it in a nice position all through the shot, because that's going to help you feel the core better, and then notice when you're moving around or swaying or anything like that. So the way you do this is when you're at your set position, make sure to engage your core, and this might feel slightly like you're kind of being prepared to have a punch to the stomach. So if someone was to come up and just pretend to punch you in the stomach, you would slightly tense there. So that slight tension in the core can help engage that. And then when you've got your head position, you have to really make sure to have that at the start and then maintain that. So compared to the position now, Sadiq at the moment, you're starting a little bit with the head too down, and then the shoulders are a little bit too hunched. So now again, if we watch from the other angle, from the 6 o'clock angle that I'll put up here, from the 6 o'clock you can see at the start, you're starting a little bit hunched over and the head is a little bit down. So then when you start, it's a little bit hard to connect the set position properly. And then when you lift up, you have to move the head like that. So you have to move the head a bit. So we want to start, rather than being a little bit curled over like this, we want to start standing up straight, still engaged in the core, which is going to keep that back flat, and then look to the target with the head, and perhaps rather than being here with the head, just lifting it slightly so that it's slightly more elevated and you don't have to move it through the shot. So when you're trying to find this head position, your measure is, okay, can I keep this position through the whole shot? If you can, and then on release it doesn't move as well, then that's probably a good head position for you. So that's what I would work on there. And I would make sure as well, in this position with the stance and posture, the shoulders are in a good position, not too curled over. As before I mentioned, you can see from the 6 o'clock angle, they're slightly curled over and the spine is a little bit bent over at the top. So rather than having the spine curled, you want to make sure you're standing up straight, and then you've got the head position is nice, and then you can go from there. So again, rather than here, it's just standing up a little bit, just so you can get a little bit better starting position. So that's the first thing I would prioritize, is the stance and posture, and using some video delay feedback for that, and then also doing that with some band work in a mirror with a camera, that kind of thing. So the second thing I would work on is the set position. So this leads on from what we were talking about, the stance and posture. The set position with the shoulders I've already addressed, but at the set position with the grip and the hook, it doesn't quite look like it's set enough, and then it moves when you're kind of lifting the bow and moving around. So if you look now in the video from 3 o'clock here again, as Sadiq, as you're at your set position here, the grip doesn't look fully, the hand doesn't look fully in the grip, and then when you're lifting, it doesn't look like you're able to put a nice, a small bit of tension on the string and then maintain this like that as you're lifting. It looks like this side is a little bit mobile and it can move around, so you haven't set that properly, and the direction through the thumb, and it doesn't quite look like the hook is connected to the elbow. So one thing for that is to make sure that this line here is nice and straight, and you're not just gripping a little bit too much with the hook. Just allow the hook to be there nicely, rather than trying to grip the string a little bit too much. So that's what I would do there. I would make sure that the hook is good on the fingers, the string is in the first groove of the first 2 fingers, and then slightly in front of the groove on the 3rd finger. So I'd make sure of that. And then once you've got that, you should be able to keep this a bit more flat, and then feel more the connection through to the elbow, and keeping the posture will really help with this. So rather than being here and kind of gripping a little bit too much with the hand, you want to be standing up nice and straight, and then when you're here, you can feel the connection between the hook and the elbow, and then feel that through to the bow hand, and then when you lift, you maintain that. So that's the key thing. And then when you're maintaining this, you now have the head position too, that's staying the same, and you're not having to go from here to move like that. So that's what I would work on there. So the third and final priority here for me would be to work on some of the alignment. So yes, in the video you can see that the release needs some work, and for example the bow hand is moving a little bit to the right when you shoot, and the release is a little bit open at the moment. So the temptation would be to work on this now, but by working on the alignment, this is addressing more of the cause of the issue rather than just the symptom. So when we're working on the alignment, the reason for this is at the moment the bow shoulder is a little bit out of line, a little bit high, as you can see from the 9 o'clock video here. When you lift the bow shoulder rolls slightly and is a little bit high, and there's not enough alignment around the torso. So when you're coming up, there's not enough rotation at the top of the torso here that will then allow you to get that good alignment. So what I would like you to do, rather than as an exaggerated movement, this is what you're doing now. You're coming up and there's a little bit of alignment here and you're drawing, but the bow shoulder is kind of set back slightly. So it's set back like this. I want you, when you're lifting and when you do the elbow rotation, which is really good by the way, when you come up and do the elbow rotation, rotate around the torso a bit more. So then you bring this into better alignment, keep it nice and neutral, don't roll it. And then you come up, get into better alignment, and this will help both sides of your alignment, the bow shoulder side and the draw side, possibly help the elbow come around more as well. And if you can get this better alignment, this is going to help you get to a better full draw position, and then a better expansion, and then a better release. So this is why I would work on the alignment. To do that, you're going to have to do it in a mirror with a band to start with and learn how to separate the movement of the torso when you're rotating and getting some extra alignment. You're going to have to learn to separate that movement from moving the hips or moving the legs. So you just want to come up and rotate without moving the hips and twisting around the whole body and that kind of thing. So the alignment is really, really important there. So that has been an overview of the 3 main areas that I would work on with Sadiq and prioritise to improve the technique at the fastest rate. I hope you guys have found that useful, and I hope Sadiq, that's been really helpful to show you what you would work on next and how to do that. As always, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll also put the links to social media down below, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.